I'm not for crumbling roads and bridges. I'm not for letting the bridges fall into the water. What I'm for is trying to make sure we don't compound the sin, and money that supposedly is going to go to fix that bridge never meets that bridge.
Well, you heard Neil. Where is all the tax money for infrastructure going? Senator Mike Lee says the money is being spent on special projects and not on roads and bridges, and he's got a bill that would wind down the gas tax. Welcome, Senator. You're saying that revenue, all that money, isn't really the problem.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And what we're saying is that we've got a bill to address a very significant middle class problem. This bill, if enacted, would put more transportation infrastructure money back in the hands of the states where it belongs. And those states would be able to spend that money more effectively and efficiently so as to connect the places where people want to live with where they need to work. That's its whole purpose.
You know, Senator, a lot of people watching are just still feeling the sting of stimulus and all of that money that was going to go to shovel-ready projects. It feels like none of it went there, and there was no accountability for it. So anytime we talk about raising more money, everyone obviously gets a little nervous.
Yes, that's exactly right. And the whole purpose of this is to put less of that power and less of that money in the hands of the few in Washington and putting more of it back in the hands of state policymakers, state decision makers. We want to reduce the federal gasoline tax from its current rate of 18.4 cents per gallon, lower it all the way down to 3.7 cents per gallon. We could use that portion to maintain our existing interstate highway system. Everything else would be collected and spent by the states at the state level where it belongs.
Well, yeah, I got to tell you, I'm one of these people that goes to work from one state into another state. It's extraordinarily expensive. I am wondering where all my money is going, and I think a lot of other people are too. But you'll have some people, you have some people, including some of your colleagues on the other side of the aisle, who are saying, hey, this gas tax that you're talking about hasn't been lifted in a long time. It certainly doesn't cover all of the wear and tear of our highways. This bill is just a misguided waste of time in a time when we need money.
You know, I haven't heard anyone make that argument yet, but if they do, my response to that argument is, number one, our figures show that 3.7 cents per gallon is enough to maintain our interstate highway system. Number two, to the extent that our existing federal gasoline tax isn't enough to cover what it's supposed to cover, this would actually help us to do more with less. Because if you leave that additional 14.7 cents per gallon back in the hands of the states, they can do more with it because they don't have to comply with all the huge pile of federal regulations that goes along with federal money. They can make their dollar stretch another 20 or 30%.
You know, listen, I'm with you 100%, and I know one of the central issues that really doesn't get a lot of coverage is states' rights versus, the federal government. In this case, we got a federal government that wants to control everything, which shifts us a little bit to politics, because the Tea Party looks like maybe, the exaggerations of their death might have been premature. Certainly had a huge day last night, big win in Nebraska, big win in West Virginia. So, Senator, I remember the last time I filled in for Neil, I kind of said maybe the Tea Party is fading a little bit, and you bristled at that. Certainly, you must feel a lot better today.
Well, look, there's no question that the grassroots conservative movement in America, which has been gaining momentum over the last few years, still has an enormous amount of momentum, and it's still on the increase. You know, it's interesting. It has become part of what the Republican Party is. We're moving now away from that point where we were a few years ago, where most of our effort was spent shouting about the things that we don't want in government, to where we are now, where we're trying to embrace what it is we do want out of government. What I'm hearing from people throughout Utah and across America is that Americans want government decisions to be made at the appropriate level. They don't want all of their decisions made in Washington. They don't want all of their money going to Washington.
Right.
So they want us to return to those long-proven principles that say local government is better on local issues.
Sure.
And that's what we're trying to do here. And we think as we do that, that'll help the poor and the middle class in this country.
There's absolutely no doubt polls back you up on this, but I guess what we've seen, particularly in the last several months, is this infighting, and maybe the mainstream media plays it up to more than what it is, but it really feels like there's a serious battle between established Republicans and the Tea Party, where the established Republicans have been emboldened, if you will, to sort of finally put the Tea Party, kick them to the curb, if you will.
Yeah, there's a natural tension that exists within any political party. between that party's base on the one hand and its establishment on the other hand. That tension certainly exists in our own party right now, just as it has in the past. And right now it's created something of a hole in the Republican Party, which I think is exactly the size and the shape of a reform agenda, a conservative reform agenda that can help bring the various constituencies within our party together and expand the tent of our party to welcome more in.
Well, I got to tell you, I think the biggest win for the Tea Party this week will be the election in India. When you check that out, this guy is a Tea Party candidate. He preaches everything you guys are preaching, and is being accepted around the world. I appreciate you taking the time and concisely explaining your positions. It always helps us a lot. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you very much. It's great to be with you. And yeah, I look forward to working with Ben Sasse in the Senate. He'll be a fantastic colleague.
He's an amazing man, an amazing resume. Thanks a lot. Hey, folks.